Disclaimer: Codger Biker loves his 790 Adventure and considers it the greatest motorcycle he's ever owned, but he also loves the truth, and for the sake of the truth, the following video will commence. Well, good morning, it's Codger Biker here. I was going to say this TFT has never been out in the rain, and then it started to rain. Well, it's winter. You can see how gloomy it is. My display has not gone to daylight, it's in night mode. Probably not helped by this screen that I've placed over it in a vain attempt to see if I could cure the condensation issue that is a fact with this bike, and I'd like to talk about that today. Try and find out what's going on. Maybe other people out there have got a view, and just to relate my experiences. Take nothing away from the bike, I absolutely adore it, but this is becoming something of an annoyance. Okay, so I've had 3 TFTs on this bike so far. The original one, which was replaced pretty early on by the dealer without me actually saying anything. So that was the second one on. That was fine all summer, never saw any condensation at any point. But as soon as the temperature dropped below about 10 degrees, I started to see quite a lot of water inside that TFT. So I sent some photographs to the dealer. They said bring it in, and they fitted a third. Riding back with the third one on, I'd got 20 minutes from the let's clean that. 20 minutes from the dealers, and it started to fog over. So basically what happens is, when you get the bike out in the morning, no matter how cold it's been, it doesn't matter, the TFT is completely clear. But gradually, as you ride, it starts to fog over slightly. Generally from the 2 top corners, I've noticed. And then eventually water droplets form, and you get actual water trickling inside the TFT, which can't be ideal. Now, looking into this a little bit, I think this has been a problem for at least 3 years, because the 390 uses a similar TFT shaped screen, and I believe that there's been quite a few issues with that. Could be wrong on that, but that's what I've heard. I can be quite accurate with this one and tell you that there are issues. Now with mine, despite the fact it's actually chucking it down at the moment, I can assure you there's no water ingress from the rain, because it's never been out in the rain until today, and yet I've had problems with this almost from the get-go. Some people have reported it as water ingress from rain. Possibly it is. The problem is that there's no information on whether the TFT is meant to be a sealed unit, or whether it's got ventilation, or what's going on with it. So I've got it down to 3 things. It's either that it was sealed with humid air inside it at some factory in the Far East, maybe, but they do have high humidity, and there's no way for it to alter that air. So we're in a country like England, which is, as you can see, cold in the winter, that water then condenses on the coldest surface, which is the glass on the front. When you're moving along, maybe the wind cools it and causes it to condense. That's my first thought. Second thought is, I have heard that they're just recycling these TFT screens. I don't know how true that is, just another rumour that you read online. You know, that when you get it changed, they just stick it on another one. I've got no reason to believe that's true, but if it were true, then it was possible that water ingress has happened for somebody else, and then you've got it with the water still inside. Unlikely. The third one is that they're not sealed. It's very difficult to seal anything when you live at the bottom of an ocean of air 50 miles high, because the pressure changes so much and the humidity changes, and eventually heat and cold will break any seal. So maybe they attempted to seal it and the seal doesn't work. So anyway, my first thoughts have been, well, why not create like a pin lock on the screen, sort of a reverse pin lock. Most people know a pin lock has got a silicone seal that fits inside your visor. I'm wearing one right now, got no steam at all, and it traps a layer of air and keeps the inner screen warmer, so that when you breathe out it doesn't condense. However, pin lock also has a coating that absorbs moisture, so I can't replicate that. So what I've gone with is a Perspex screen. I was unable to get clear, so I've ended up with a slightly bluey colour, as you can probably see. Ah, look, it's come a bit brighter. The screen's just lit up. So what I'm doing today is I'm just taking it for a ride and just seeing, for comparison, what happens with this TFT today with this screen on. Now, I've already tried it a couple of times, and there has been condensation forming even with it on, but it wasn't as bad. It tended to be the top left and right corners only, rather than all the way across, as I've seen at some points. I tried to improve this one a little bit by putting a skirt around the outside. Now, what I do with my motorcycles is whatever modifications I make to them are just for me, and I always make them reversible. I don't do anything that can't be put back to stock. It's just the way I like to do things. One day I'll probably have to trade the bike in, and I like to think within 2 hours I could have the bike back to stock. So that's the idea of this slip over screen. It's just held on with some elastic at the back. It's a very difficult shape to make. I had to make a plywood former. For that I used a screen protector that I had, like a phone type screen protector you buy that just stick on. I haven't bothered to put one on this TFT because the previous two had them on. They're not cheap and they just get thrown away when they swap the screen. You can't reuse them. So, but it did give me an approximate shape, so I was able to make some plywood formers, and then after many tries I managed to use a heat gun and shape this Perspex into something like a reasonable fit. I then sealed it with some draft excluder. So what that does is it just sits on top of the Gorilla Glass of the TFT and holds the Perspex 3mm away to give you that double glazing effect. It's also very gentle. It's sort of felt. Anyhow, so I rode that out the other day and it's 6 degrees. It's a direct comparison to a previous ride at 6 degrees, and there was still condensation inside, but quite a bit less. In my desperation I did actually try emailing KTM, and they didn't answer for quite a while. Eventually I did get an email back. It was quite generic, something on the lines of, "Thank you for informing us of your problem. We can assure you that we are working on this issue tirelessly. We've informed your dealer. They will get back to you as soon as there is a solution." They didn't actually mention the problem, so I took that to be just a generic courtesy response. Perhaps I'm cynical. Anyhow, I've been assured by the spares department that until there's a new parts number for the TFT, even if it looks exactly the same as the one that I've had on this bike, then it's not a new TFT, because there has been some speculation by people saying they've had those cured with a new design TFT. But the word is that there isn't a new design TFT, at least it hasn't been released yet. And until that part number changes, to assume that they're just the same old, same old. It's so ironic that today is the first time I've been out in the rain with this screen. It's absolutely chucking it down. So I'm not going to stay out very long. In fact, I'm going to be heading back sooner rather than later. Storm Brendan is come back. I thought he'd cleared off, but he looks like he's coming back with a vengeance. So with all the theories about the cause of the condensation, it doesn't really matter. You don't really want condensation inside a modern TFT screen which controls the whole bike. For me to do anything at all, it's great to have all these modes. I'm in rain mode at the moment, which is brilliant, but if I can't see on the screen to change modes, then it's going to be no use. I have heard of a couple of people losing their screens, but none of them have said it was due to moisture, so who knows. At least this proves what I'm saying. I want to ride bikes all year round, not just in the summer. So I need a TFT that's up to the job, please, KTM. And this one, I'm afraid, is not. So should be keeping an eye out for a new part number, hopefully, and listening for that phone call from my dealer. But don't make it too long, please. Okay, that's all for me for now. Codger Biker is out in the rain. There's a train. You're a train. They always call him that. Yeah, that's funny.